What is up, guys? It's Doodoo Poker here, back for another video. Today we are going to be talking about a lesser known exploit in 3-bet pots that is not utilized nearly enough. What exploit am I talking about? The exploit I am talking about is the raising of the turn probe. We know from population that most people over c-bet flops, but we want to figure out how we can exploit the population. This is one exploit we can use to do that. Let's take a flop. Let's say we're in the button or on the button and the cutoff RFIs and we 3-bet. We take a flop and the flop comes queen of spades, 7 of spades, 6 of hearts. Let's go into the AI and choose one c-bet sizing and see what GTO is doing on the flop. We see that GTO bets around 60% of the time with the solver approved sizing of 40% pot. So let's take a hand like ace jack of hearts, and we know it's never bet on the flop. We check back on the flop, and now our opponent probes 30% on the turn. We see in theory we should never be raising, but this is a deviation. We look at the EV difference between raising and calling, and we see it's very close. Let's look at MDA for what happens if I raise his turn probe. So here I'm going to go to MDA and we're going to take a look at the field as the 3-bet pot at a position pre-flop caller. What do you notice? You notice that they're probing around the GTO percentage, but they are not defending nearly enough. If he probes 30% and I raise 3.5x, the GTO percentage for folding is between 30 and 37. The field is folding 49%, so this is a huge discrepancy between GTO and what's happening in reality. So what I should do here is turn my ace jack of hearts and I should raise. And we know in theory they fold around 36-37%, but they're going to fold 49% in reality. Let's take another spot. Let's say I have my range in the big blind and the small blind RFIs. I 3-bet to 10 big blinds and the small blind calls. We take a flop of king 10-3 two-tone, and we know again this is not a range bet spot. We need to be betting around 60% frequency with the same solver approved sizing of 40%. Let's take the same hand of ace jack of hearts and we say that we check back on the flop. Now again we're facing a 30% probe sizing on the turn. Now what happens if I raise 3.5x his 30% sizing? Let's take a look at MDA. We see in MDA for the field as the 3-bet pot at a position pre-flop caller, small blind versus big blind, they're over probing. They're probing 45% and they should be probing between 33 and 41%. But let's go to the folding frequencies. They're supposed to only fold 33 to 39% and they're folding 51%. Now you see the same trend for every probe sizing up to 70%. So if they probe 50, we still want to do the same thing. And if they probe 70, we also want to raise much more than theory. So let's do a recap. We know that on the flop, we need to be playing GTO-ish. So on a board like Queen 7-6 two-tone, cut off first button, we're only c-betting around 60% of the time with the solver approved 40% sizing. When they probe 30% on the turn, GTO folds 30 to 37%, but population is folding 49%. So raise more of their turn probes. We see the same trend in small blind versus big blind 3-bet. On a king 10-3 board, you again only c-bet 60% of the time with the solver approved 40% sizing. And when they probe 30% on the turn, now they fold 51% to the GTO folding percentage of 33 to 39%. So we see the same trend versus a probe 50 and a probe 70. The only time we don't want to raise is if they bet pot or higher. So if they probe pot or overbet, we don't use this exploit, but versus smaller sizings, we can use this exploit. If you enjoy this type of content, please give me a like, please give me a subscribe. New video every single day, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.